Hello friends, I am Dr. Avtar Sethi and you are watching the Avtar Sethi Show. Today we are presenting a personality who has proudly served Indian Army for 4 decades and retired in the rank of Lieutenant General in August 2019. He opened his second innings as a freelance author. His second book, Human to Human, The Source of Joy in Relationships, was published in May 2021. The book, which is trending globally on Amazon, seeks to open new vistas to activate the powers of the universe lying dormant within every human being. His first book, The Game's Mind Play, which has restricted to military readers, covered the real life case studies of irrational human behavior in very harsh operational areas of our northern borders. He is none other than Lieutenant General Vipan Gupta. We had this opportunity to have a conversation with General Gupta with my co-host Diksha. We did this virtually. I hope you will enjoy this. I also welcome Ms. Diksha, representative of HWPL, working for international peace. Friends, in 2022, the news on war between Russia and Ukraine was the most searched news item on internet. This year, US President has extended huge support to Ukraine President Zelensky, and Zelensky has sworn to win the war. With this development, where are we headed in 2023? To begin the show, I request Diksha to ask questions from HWPL perspective.
Thank you so much, Mr. Avtar Sethi, and most welcome to our Lieutenant General, sir, also. So,
thank you so much, Diksha.
Since sir have already introduced all of us, so without wasting any time, I would like to give the question number 1 to sir, what we have prepared. So, I want to ask you, sir, that considering the Russia and Ukraine situation, that Russia's invasion of Ukraine raises questions about the role of the permanent UN member to defend global peace and to prevent war. But one of the permanent members have launched an armed war. The number of innocent victims of the war is increasing. What is your opinion about it?
Yeah, Diksha, we all know that UNO was founded after the Second World War, basically to maintain the international peace and security. And at that time, the 5 most powerful countries, they became the permanent member. We all know who are these 5 countries. And they were given veto power. Now, veto power, as we all know, can be exercised by any of these P5 permanent 5 members to prevent adoption of any resolution, regardless of whether they have international support or they don't have. So it's a double-edged, instrument that has been given to them. And it is absolute power in the hand of these 5 people, five nations. And they say power corrupts, and the absolute power corrupts even more. And that is what has happened. And that is why, since Russia is, one of the P5 and a party to this conflict, UN is finding it very difficult to stop the war, cessation of hostilities. Now, today there are 193 members. All these members, many of them, they have conflicting interests. They have boundary disputes and all that. And they resort to negotiation, peace talks. When they fail, there is always a lurking danger of, escalating into warlike situation or war. And when one of the party is a powerful nation like Russia, China, or any of these powerful countries or P5, then there is always a scope. There is always a temptation to find a military solution to resolve the issues which have not been able to resolve. They are not able to resolve through peaceful means. And that is what Russia has done. Now, in this entire framework, gamut, what UN can do, UN has tried its best, whatever they possible. Now, to give you a couple of things that the UN has tried. In September last year, they passed a resolution in which they declared Russian action as unlawful. The occupation of the 4 regions in the east and the southeast and they wanted Russia to unilaterally withdraw. This was the resolution which was passed in the United Nations Security Council. But again, promptly, Russians, they used their veto power and they scuttled this. Nothing happened. It made no difference as far as the Russians are concerned. Now, you also know in the beginning of war, Ukraine took Russia to International Court of Justice. That is the second remedy which is available. So there also it was the verdict was passed in favor of Ukraine. But again, what do we do with Russians? They are the permanent member and they have a veto power. Now, in order to enforce this verdict of United Nations, International Court of Justice, they can also go to the United Nations Security Council. But again, there Russians will use the veto power. So, in fact, this whole system has become very defunct as far as Ukraine war is concerned. Economic sanctions have not worked. I mean, Russian oil is still being used by big countries. So, and although there are voices, I was reading a couple of days back, they say that this is a very, very costly war, which the Russians have got into. And probably after a decade, they become a failed state. The economy will get shattered. But that's a totally different perspective. But the fact of the matter is, what UN has been able to do, they have not been able to prevent the war. They have not been able to stop the war. So to that extent, I agree with you that when one of the permanent member is party to the conflict, it becomes very difficult to do anything. I hope I have answered your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I was able to grab some of the points, and I think those were pretty much practical points which you mentioned also. So related to that, and based on your answer also, I have one more questions related to United Nations role, which was built to prevent war after World War II, and has been criticized for failing to perform properly due to the Russia and Ukraine war. So I want to ask you in particular, is there any opinion that there is a mishap that may happen someday in the absence of a strong binding international laws that prevent from occurring? In order to solve this problem, HWPL has issued a Declaration of World Peace and Cessation of War, DPCW, and has been including provisions to prevent war. And also it has been launching campaigns to enact international law, which has supported many countries. What do you think of the need of such international law?
Thanks, Diksha, for your question. In fact, your long question has got two parts. Part one basically addresses the credibility of UNO. How credible UNO has been in prevention of this war and stoppage of hostilities or the active war which is going on. I think I've partly answered, in fact, fully answered this part of the question. So let me concentrate on the part two, which is very, very important. Now, I feel that the global initiative taken by Heavenly Culture, World Peace, and Restoration of Light, that is the full form of HWPL. I was so happy to when I checked up the full form of this HWPL. Now, it's a remarkable development what they're doing. So their effort to unite the will of the global citizens to include religion, culture, through volunteer work, through peace coalitions, through peace education, spreading campaigns, organizing seminars, conducting a whole lot of activities is something which is unparalleled development, let me say. And I strongly feel that the peace education should be imparted to the young minds in our schools and colleges, because that has to become a global agenda. And only then the peace can prevail once the young minds or the students, they become stakeholders. Now, relationship and building harmony in relationship is so important because I feel that the entire universe is surviving. In fact, the entire creation is surviving because there is a network of peace and harmony in nature, in the universe. To give you an example, I'll be just taking a minute extra. There are 5 networks which are operating in the universe to make sure that we stay in harmony, that the life exists and is sustained. The first network is formed by the cosmic space. It holds all the galaxies, the heavenly bodies in perfect harmony in their proper place, and it does not allow the galactic and the reorientation that is taking place to affect our planet or the solar system. So it is spreading peace and harmony. It is ensuring that everything stays stable. That is one. First network. Second network is formed by the solar system itself. We have sun, moon, and other planets. They ensure that the Earth becomes more livable. So it's again a spreading of harmonious relationship, peace network. That is what they do in second network. The third network is basically about the nature. Nature with its 5 elements is ensuring that every life sustains into this part of the universe. And the fourth network is formed by the flora and fauna, which ensures that the ecosystem is maintained, it is stabilized, it stays, so that again the life continues. And the fifth system, or the fifth network, which is the most important, is human to human relationships. That is the master of all networks. Why I'm saying so? Because even if the 4 networks that I've talked about, they stay intact, in perfect order, if this network is spoiled or destroyed, and we get into a dysfunctional state of humanity, nothing can exist. The humanity can be wiped off from the face of Earth. So hence, I admire and I'm so appreciative of what the HWPL is doing in spreading global peace and harmony, in ensuring security, in ensuring that the world stays peaceful and safe. And to that extent, the declaration of world peace and the other thing that is related to it, declaration of world peace, and that in 2016, which was done, it is something which is exceptional. And once all the nations become party to it and it becomes legal framework, I think you will be able to achieve, HWPL will be able to achieve its work and for whatever it has come about. And I have my best wishes, and I feel that you guys are doing a great service.
Thank you so much, sir. I feel that you have really gone through a lot about DPCW, and I really appreciate for even helping our audiences understand also the importance of DPCW and HWPL, the enactment of the international law. So that actually brings me to the third question. So somehow we have been interacting a lot about India and Ukraine, Russia. So there is one question which has been in my mind since very long time, considering since you were working in Indian Army. So this is the last question I'll be asking, so I'll not take much time. So considering India, when even in India, there are a lot of conflicts due to culture, religion, race, ethnicities, like being large and small, there are so many differences. So what kind of efforts do you think that it is required from all walks of life to prevent all these kind of like differences from escalating into armed conflict in the future?
This is a problem actually, and a very live problem. And India being a multi-ethnic and multi-religious society, but we all can practice. We have all freedom in this country to practice our cultural and traditional activities, of course, within the framework of the Indian Constitution. But the trouble arises when the sensitivities of one of the sect or one of the group is hurt, and that particular thing is blown up out of proportion by the media. But it flares up, and the maximum damage occurs in the first 24 to 72 hours. People don't know what's happening. So all kind of rumors are spread, and it becomes very difficult to control. So we have to address the cause to make sure that we have a proper effect, right? And if you analyze, more often than not, all these type of clashes occur because of political agenda or religious fanaticism. These are the two major causes. And to add fuel to the fire, we have the ready availability of misguided, unemployed, and uneducated youth. You will never find general public being part of it. Have you ever seen ladies or children or old people, picking up arms and picking up firearms and becoming party to this kind of clashes, which happens in various regions of India? Never, never. So that is the main cause. And you find that after initial flare-up, which I mentioned to you, about 24 to 72 hours, maybe even more, the administration then come into effect. And they are generally able to control it. And that is the general trend. Now, in order to prevent such activities, such clashes, which are inimical to the security structure of a country, it is very important that we have, the government has already instituted many of them. Just to, say a few, we have to teach the art of empathy and tolerance to our children. Very, very important. This is my theme. I always feel that our children should become the stakeholders in peace activities and these kind of activities. So this has to be taught, how to be tolerant. So important. And this has to start from the families. You have to do it within your homes so that it is spread out to the communities, it is spread out to the countries, it becomes a global agenda. That is what has to be done. And in the long run, what we have to do is we have to create a multi-ethnic and multi-religious apex body at the regional level and at the country national level. They should have members, they should have intellectuals, they should have religious people from all sects of society and all that. And they should be the one who should be handling such issues. All such clashes, issues should be addressed to them so that people from all walk of life are part of that. And to that extent, HWPL is doing a great job. They've already shown the way how to do it. We simply have to follow. And ultimately, the spirit of humanism, tolerance, and harmony has to come from within. And it is only possible if we educate, if we employ our youth, because a well-informed and educated mind will immediately understand the futility of going through all this. And it can only stop if we can employ our youth, if we can educate our youth, and if we can catch young minds. They should be the one who should become a very active participant in peace activities and ensuring that these things don't spread out. That's what I feel.
Thank you so much for sharing even the most important view and even highlighting that how much the youth, be it youth, women or elder or anything or anyone, everyone has their own important role and things to do. So we need to become stakeholders in the peace. So I would just also like to mention that the chairman of HWPL, Mr. Lee Man-hee, he has went around the world for more than 31 times to proclaim peace. Okay. And the thing what he mentioned is no one has ever rejected the message of peace in the 31 times of World Peace Tour. And there is no one who liked the war.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing, there was research which was carried out. And they came to this conclusion that all humans are genetically predisposed to be empathetic in nature. We are all empathetic genetically. And to be peaceful, to be happy is our natural state. So that part has to be exploited. That is something which is hidden within all of us.
Yes.
And that has to be activated. In fact, I was mentioning to you in a casual discussion that my book, Human to Human, Dr. Sethi mentioned about it, Human to Human, the source of joy in relationship, is basically on that very aspect. How to activate the human powers, how to activate the joy which is hidden within each one of us. So that has to be activated. The power of relationship, the power of networking, network of peace, that has to come out. So
that's true. So I will just say the last thing what even our chairman wants to give the message, and especially this year he mentioned that in the year of 2023 peace will prevail if we unite in hearts and achieve our goals. So for that we need to work for the restoration of peace.
Yes.
So thank you so
All of
much
them.
for your time also. And I'm really looking forward to work more together as one. And now I would love to invite our Dr. Sethi, sir, once again here to take the lead.
Well, General Gupta, with the huge financial support from USA to Ukraine and Ukraine
Yeah.
president's resolve to win the war, are we heading to World War?
I hope not. You see, let me first tell you about the bogey of US support to Ukraine. I think personally, the support has been more damaging to the cause. US is and US had played always lip service to the support that they are you're talking about. They have passed all the old weaponry and arsenal to Ukraine. In fact, the latest supply of Patriot missile, which is a very, very costly piece of equipment that they're giving it to Ukraine to fight the Russians, is going to be hardly of any use. It's a very costly equipment, and it is not going to be effective against the Russian drones and the missile attack. And imagine the parity, mismatch in parity, because Patriot missile using against the Russian missiles or the other equipment is like deploying something which is worth 1,000 rupees to destroy something which is just of 20 rupees. So the initial Ukraine success is attributable not to the US support or not to the support of the West. It is basically the faulty policy that the Russians adopted. They never went in for an air assault, which is very important to start the war. They didn't do that. They sent their tanks. They never realized the power of the Ukrainian action and the resolve initially. So they suffered casualties. The Ukrainian drones were deployed in a manner, they played merry hell with the Russian equipment and the field commanders and the tanks. So later on, they realized their mistake and they immediately mended the way. And they deployed their electromagnetic equipment. They have 5 brigades, 3 of them are deployed. And they learned their lessons very fast. And today, they have almost achieved their strategic aims. They are controlling complete eastern and the southeastern part of Ukraine. That's what they wanted. So as far as the US support is concerned, I don't think there was anything worthwhile. In fact, that is preventing the war from coming to an end. Zelensky is always feeling that West is with them, US is with that country, but actually on ground nothing is happening actually. And Russians are converting, and because of that, Russians are converting the whole of Ukraine into a rubble. It's kind of casualties, the loss of life. The latest report says that 7,000 lives have been lost. That is such a heavy price that the humanity has paid. Now, as regard World War II, my simple and straightforward answer is I don't think so. That's not going to happen. And one keep hearing such voices. It's in the realm of speculation and war propaganda. The Second World War ended, in 1945, which is about 7.5 decades now. And what has deterred the Third World War is that people know, the countries know, humanity knows that if you go in for a war like that, mankind will cease to exist. That is the kind of weapon that we have today. So that's a big deterrence. Now, there is another angle to it, although, which is that Ukraine war, now we are all globally connected. It's not like that we are living in silos. We are all globally connected. If some problem is there in one part of the world, it spreads to the entire world. COVID is one example I'm giving you. Ukraine war also, now look at what the Ukraine war has done. It has resulted in global food shortage, huge refugee problem, crisis of Europe, slower growth, faster inflation. It has infected the whole global economy. Almost the entire world is getting affected. So this is a different kind of a world war. COVID is again a different kind of a world war. But world war, what you and me think of the conventional world war in which the weapons of mass destruction are used, and that's not going to happen. So
The energy crisis is also there right now. That is also part of the whole scenario.
Correct. The whole world is getting affected. So this is also something which is impacting negatively the whole world. This is also a world war of a different nature. So much of destruction, so many lives getting lost. COVID, I gave you example of COVID. Same, it affected the economy. It affected the humanity. So much of lives were lost. Yeah.
General Gupta, I would like to shift focus to India now. China has been advancing into Indian territory. How can India keep China away from entering the Indian territory?
Yeah, this is something which is troubling everybody's mind today. Now, okay, let me explain it this way. To be in peace, you have to be fully prepared for war. Now, have you seen two equally powerful persons fighting with each other? Well, the answer is very, very rarely. Why? Because they know if they end up fighting, both of them will destroy each other. And the same is true for countries. Powerful countries, equally powerful countries, they don't fight. At best, what they will take positions, they will do posturings, they will make their proxies fight, but they will never fight. So the answer is that if you want to prevent China, India has to continue becoming strong politically, economically, and militarily. Equally powerful. That is going to be a very, very strong deterrence. But, we should also make sure that there is no weakness in our armor. Because the moment somebody finds a weakness in your armor, it can be easily exploited. And the adversary or the other opposite party can always get tempted to, take anything which is adventurous mode or wage a war or take chances. That should not happen. Our biggest weakness today, Indian biggest weakness is that we are over-dependent on the defense procurement export. We are importing our equipment from outside. 80% things come from Russia. That is why we couldn't openly oppose Russia in the ongoing Ukraine war. And India is not the country who will, depend on the alliances or the umbrellas like others are doing it. We are too big for that. So that will not happen ever. So we have to rely purely on our own strength. We have to build our strength to make sure that we are able to stand up to China, the might of China. Of late, let me also tell you with very, very, happy mind that we have taken a lot of initiatives. Like, for example, the creation of CDS, which was long overdue. This basically to ensure the jointness of approach of military, Air Force, Navy, and the Indian Army through the medium of CDS. We have promoted indigenous defense production through Make in India. That is happening. Government has taken this initiative in a very big way. We have created border infrastructure. It is getting developed like it has never happened before. And we are right-sizing the military by cutting down the flab, creating new normals like Balakot, Galwan, Tawang. And these things never happened openly the way things are happening now. So these initiatives have to be taken forward. We have to make sure that the theater commands come into being, and there has to be a cross-pollination between the civil and military. In fact, I would go to the extent of saying there should be a total fusion between the civil and the military mind for everything, for creating of infrastructure, for defense production, for thinking, etc., so that whatever can be used by military can also be used by the civil. Like, for example, the infrastructure, the highways are being used for as landing strips. You must have, heard this news. This became a few years back. The aircraft landed on the highways. The border infrastructure which is coming up is being used to make sure that India progresses. It goes into that part of the world, that part of the country. So that is what is required to be done. And but in the end, let me also confess that China is here to stay. If we are thinking that after some time Chinese will withdraw, they will go away, they will stop trying to nibble small portions, that's not going to happen. They will continue to test our resolve. They have been doing it ever since 62, and they will continue to do it. The only thing that can prevent them is what we are doing. We are giving them a befitting answer, befitting reply. You've seen the latest, what has happened in Galwan, what has happened in Tawang. That is the latest. That is the language they will understand. And we have to match them politically, economically, and militarily at every stage. And that is going to be the deterrence. So I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah. So, General Gupta, overall, do you see peace prevailing in 2023?
I wish and pray that should happen. My emotional and spiritual answer is yes. My practical and logical responses may not. May not. Why I'm saying so? Because we have gone through last 1 year, almost 1 year, Ukraine war. People have seen, the kind of destruction it has, the effect it has caused to the world economy, and loss of life. All kind of things have happened during the last almost 1 year. So this may prevent, good sense may prevail in countries who are on the verge of waging another war. So to that extent, I would say that 23 will be peaceful. But a contrary view is that it can motivate some people who are again on the verge of, waging a war by saying that if Russians can find a military solution to a long drawn problem, why can't they do it? So both sides, there are two sides of the coin, so it can happen. But I wish that we should have a peaceful 2023.
We all wish and hope that 2023 will be a peaceful year, and thereafter also it will continue to be peaceful in the world.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, General Gupta, for sparing your valuable time and sharing your views with us. And thank you, Diksha. That is the end of our video now. So friends, I believe that you have liked our show, and I request you to subscribe our show if you haven't done so far, and you press the bell icon. And if you have liked the show, please like and share the video with others. We have also given our Instagram link below. Do follow us for exclusive content. Thank you very much.